Some people ask me, Andrew, which slasher characters are the best and coolest? And by some people, I really just mean the voices in my head. That brings me to this outlet, where I find it best to explain my answers. And in no particular order, I'm ready to explain to you who is on my Mount Rushmore of horror slashers. The first is no surprise. He's my favorite and a shoo-in for the first spot, Michael Myers. I know it might seem like an obvious choice, but doesn't it make sense that I'm putting the face of horror's face on a mountain of faces? Myers has been slicing and dicing since 1978 and has not slowed down one bit. His newest installment in the franchise, Halloween Kills, is quite possibly the most brutal iteration of the character we've seen to date. And on top of that, he also has some reliable sequels and remakes like the Rob Zombie Halloween films. On top of just being horror's most iconic role, he also has the most iconic final girl in Laurie Strode. But his relationships don't stop there. The dichotomy between Michael Myers and Dr. Samuel Loomis is one for the ages. Honestly, it holds interest in the entire franchise, even in movies like Halloween 5 and Halloween 6 that don't hold up too well when it comes to storyline or narrative. Take all of these facts and back them with the absolute masterclass soundtrack by John Carpenter, and you've got yourself a juggernaut of the horror genre and an instantly recognizable face to even those who are too scared to turn off the lights. Next up is Jason Voorhees. Another iconic look? Check. Highest body count? Check. Mommy issues? Check. Even though Jason Takes Manhattan is rendered impossible due to Jason's inability to swim, we'll let that one slide and look at the rest of the movies as a whole that encapsulates his character. By that, I mean that the movies create a persona that immediately adds some sort of excitement to killing lost campers. That sounds morbid, I know. Bear with me. What I mean by that is that when you watch a Friday the 13th movie and you hear the coming around the corner in the woods, you know that those promiscuous teenagers are probably not going to make it out alive. And also, how am I forgetting? He has an entire holiday dedicated around him. How cool is that? The third face is a ghostly one. It's the one that doesn't have a definitive identity. Ghostface. Honestly, I think that's part of his appeal. The Scream movies are a constant guessing game of who's under the mask where no one, and I mean no one, is safe from accusation. The Scream movies are a constant guessing game of who's under the mask, where no one, and I mean no one, is safe from accusation. Scream, to me, is the movie that started the revolution in horror. Based on the meta nature of the film, it allowed audiences to pick apart the formula of horror and realize how absolutely ridiculous it is. Something like Scream laid the foundation for A Cabin in the Woods, which revolutionized the way that audiences look at horror, initiating in a sort of intelligence to the genre, something like Hereditary, Midsommar, Get Out, Us, and the list goes on and on of modern horror greats that would not be possible without the meta of Scream. So yeah, I'm talking about the movie and not the character a little bit, but think about it. None of this would have been possible without the character of Ghostface. I mean, he's just a teenager in a robe. It's not some unending force of evil or drowned kid in a lake that comes back to life every time a new movie comes out. This is just some random high school dude that you could have passed in a hallway. The character of Ghostface is unique in that he's just a regular guy. He could have been your next door neighbor for all you know. He's not some crazed maniac with semi-supernatural powers. And finally, not Freddy Krueger, but Bubba Sawyer, Leatherface. Bubba is the star of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre films, the first coming out in 1974, predating Halloween by about 4 years. To me, Texas Chainsaw is the slasher that gives slashers a cinematic foundation. I mean, every shot is a work of art. Every camera movement is well thought out and perfected. And even more so, the lack of outright blood and gore give Leatherface a mystique of brutality. His characteristic of being an unintelligent pawn feeds into the sympathy that the audience is meant to feel for Leatherface at certain points, which is even more so apparent in the sequel, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, which honestly is unbelievably funny. Go watch it if you haven't. It's amazing. But really, Bubba's lack of knowledge as to why he's even killing these people allow the audience to sense some sort of anger and hatred towards the actions that he's doing. Even if he doesn't fully understand why he's killing these people, it allows him to have a total disregard for the human life that he's ending at the time. So with that, my mountain is full. Is there room for change? Maybe. I definitely won't say no, but I think that all 4 of these characters hold their own important significance in the slasher subgenre. None more or less important than the last. Let me know what you think about your own mountain. Unless Freddy's on it. We don't support Freddy here. We support this guy. Catch you in the next one.